Spotlight is proudly sponsored by HEC Media, St. Louis's home for arts, education, and culture.
This is one of the biggest pieces of entertainment news in the history of St. Louis theater.
I believe that this is one of the most unique markets in the country.
The access and the reach is exponential compared to what we've been able to do previously.
Today on Spotlight, the Tower Grove Farmers Market is back in full swing. Meet some of the farmers. Plus, a local group working to strengthen the relationship between school and home. And then a memorial art exhibit, why they say it takes time to understand this artist. But first, how the arts responded and grew thanks to the pandemic. It's Sunday and you're watching the multiple Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
How do we stay connected when we find ourselves so far apart?
That was the question, and as seen here, also the answer to one of the most vexing problems caused by the pandemic.
If you enjoyed this streaming production, we hope you will consider visiting us more online.
Because of the pandemic, arts and culture organizations were forced to create new ways to reach people stuck at home. Many experimented with virtual solutions. Now, with audiences able to again experience performances in person, many of those same organizations have found their digital experiments were so successful, they have decided, to put it in show business terms, to keep it in the act.
I think the pandemic caused us to put down the accelerator pedal to drive us to somewhere that we were already eventually going to go.
The St. Louis Symphony is one of many arts organizations that began using virtual communication as a way to continue and even enhance its educational outreach.
Do you want to hit that?
Sure.
The orchestra turned its popular instrument playground into a digital playground and added a new series of virtual music-related lessons called Sound Lab.
Everything that we were doing for students or teachers before, we're starting to think about how we bring that into the digital space, because the access and the reach is just exponential compared to what we've been able to do previously.
My high school theater director actually was the first person who introduced me to stage managing.
In response to the pandemic, the Muni developed Muni U, a chance for homebound students to learn about the world of show business from homebound professionals. In response to its popularity, Muni U is now offering a mix of virtual classes as well as presentations in person. Opera Theater moved its educational series Opera on the Go to virtual performances as well, and will be considering in the future a hybrid of live and virtual educational productions.
The sun sets again.
For Metro Theater Company, whose niche was already education through the arts, it converted its classroom performances into virtual appearances under the banner Learning Through Play in the Arts.
We found within the first 3 weeks of those videos being released, we had over 30,000 views from all over the country and other parts of the world as well.
And with the help of HEC Media as its production partner, Metro Theater Company began offering and plans to continue offering full theatrical performances both live and on a pay-per-view and, for some shows, pay-what-you-wish basis. It's a good read, but it's a tough read sometimes.
Our virtual events are the best in the country.
The pandemic created a dilemma for the St. Louis County Library's favorite author series. In March of 2020, the library had to cancel 60 upcoming events. But the library was able to pivot quickly because it already had a virtual component to the author series through HEC Media, which had long been producing in-studio interviews as the authors appeared in St. Louis. The trick now will be pivoting back.
In a lot of ways, it's easier, and they don't have to travel. They don't even have to wear pants. They can just just put on a nice shirt and wear their pajama bottoms. But I think that so it's easier. But I do think that there's a desire to get back and directly connect with readers again.
The St. Louis Symphony is so convinced it has a digital destiny, the orchestra has started offering a limited number of concerts online and has spent tens of thousands of dollars installing a high-definition camera system run from a state-of-the-art control room tucked away in an old utility closet.
This really allows us to build a fan base and appreciation for the St. Louis Symphony outside of the St. Louis region.
So step on back and talk a little smack, but Mr. Dennis got to stay on track.
There are so many times when a school would love to come and see a production at the Grandel or anywhere, but they simply can't afford the bus. We recognize that streaming is, a shadow of the live experience, not the entirety of the live experience. It's still providing access to a layer of our programming that can make a meaningful difference in the lives of those young people in those districts.
And now, I am very proud to welcome Bakari Sellers and Pete Buttigieg for Left Bank Books and HEC TV.
Through doing these virtual events, we've reached whole new audiences. We've reached people who can't get out of their homes, people that are well outside St. Louis. I had one event that we were doing live where I had people in Australia and people in Brazil and people in London all watching while we were doing these. So we're reaching way outside the St. Louis area, but also just people who have really busy lives.
The pandemic maybe gave the gift to all of us because it allowed people to see what they could do when times are challenging. And as a result, realized that those are still great things to do when times are perhaps approaching normalcy.
HEC Media. Recognized, celebrated, honored time and again for excellence in the industry. Mid-America Emmys, Tellys, Natoas, Auroras, and other awards. HEC Media has been bringing home the hardware for over a decade. Hundreds of nominations and wins, from regional to international levels. Arts and education, to author talks, magazine shows and documentaries, individual craft achievements to overall excellence, plus so much more. And although doing good work is its own reward, recognition, well, it's nice too. See what all the fuss is about. Find all of the award-winning content at hecmedia.org.
This story is brought to you in partnership with STL Made.
I believe that this is one of the most unique markets in the country.
It's basically just growing an urban utopia every single week.
I am really passionate about this market. It's not only in this incredible green space right in the heart of Tower Grove Park, but it's a real family gathering place on Saturday mornings. This isn't a market where you just come and buy. This is a market where you come and hang.
We've grown from 20, 25 vendors to like 140 on a good day. It's neat to see the growth and the diversity of not only the shoppers, but of our vendors. And the coolest thing is that a lot of our vendors now have brick and mortars, a ton of them.
Part of why I do this job is I want to see St. Louis grow in the economy. And so every single artisan and farmer here, you're feeding their family, you're pouring right back into St. Louis. This is what we want at the market, is small businesses succeeding and pouring back into the community. And you see it time and time again if you pay attention. And so to be the hub for that's pretty freaking cool.
If you're not coming to the Tower Grove Farmers Market Saturday morning, you're missing out on one of the city's greatest treasures.
I can honestly say we're one of the best markets in the country. I mean, we have 200 people doing yoga, or they probably just got done. Where else do you see that?
The beautiful part of this market is the relationships that you build, not only with vendors saying, hey, you show up rain or shine, giving it your all. I show up rain or shine, and there's that mutual respect there. And then the shoppers, they're coming every week.
I think St. Louis is just a town that wants to support their local makers, their local chefs, their local restaurants, beer, everything. We're a very tight-knit community, so I think that's a big part of it. And Tower Grove Park being kind of central to that atmosphere, it really helps bring everybody together.
Everyone embraces each other, everyone supports each other. There's room for everyone to succeed, which is I think a very cool and very uniquely St. Louis thing that you wouldn't find in a lot of other cities.
It's like a family almost. Everybody roots for each other. It's just a really good feeling to be a small-time business and also help other small-time business.
So it's this beautiful community of people saying, here's what I'm bringing to the table. What do you got? And that's what we do here at Tower Grove, is bring that family aspect. And so it's beautiful to watch that week by week in different areas.
Visit thestl.com for more stories like this one.
HomeWorks is a teacher home visit program founded in St. Louis in 2007 to partner families and teachers for children's academic success. They've created a positive structure within which parents and teachers can effectively cooperate for the good of their students. Their mission is to partner with underserved schools to help build their capacity to engage families and communities.
Welcome to this episode of Classroom Matters.
Educate.today's Christy Houle sat down with HomeWorks leadership for a Classroom Matters podcast.
Walk us through a day in the life of a family or a student that is involved with the HomeWorks organization for our listeners that are thinking, wow, this sounds really innovative and I really want to know more about exactly what that looks like in execution. What does a day look like?
We really find it important that we take a holistic approach with our families. And aside from being the only organization in St. Louis doing what we're doing, we also are one of the only organizations I know about that take this holistic wraparound approach when it comes to engaging parents with school. A family who is participating in the HomeWorks program will receive positive individualized communications, and some of them for the first time ever. Some of our parents, we hear that they never hear from the school unless it's something negative. And the first time they hear something positive is when one of our teachers reaches out to just say, I'm so glad to have your son, your daughter in my class, and it was great to see them today. And these parents are amazed that they're getting positive communications from school. And then with those communications come, and I would love to come to you and meet you at your home or at a time that is convenient for you on Zoom, whatever works for you, mom, dad, grandma, so we can talk about how we can work together to set goals and make sure that your child's successful. Because I know that's what you want and that's what I want, and we're partners here and we're going to work together for that. And then the parent has their visit, whether it's in person or on Zoom, but where the teacher is coming to them on their time, meeting them where they are, where they get to share more positive things about what's happening with the student in school and build relationships, build that trust we talked about earlier, how important that is, and then talk about really where the child is in school. So parents learn about exactly where their students doing in academics, how they're doing in behavior. This is what attendance looks like. It's surprising to some parents. They don't realize how those tardies add up, or how those pulling out of school early or missing days add up and really impact their child's learning. And then at the end of the meeting, the parent, the student, and the teacher set a goal together. And that can be we have heard all kinds of things about what the goal can be. It has been anywhere from, my son can't tie his shoes, and that is slowing us down in the morning, and that is making us miss the bus, and that is why he's late. So our goal is we're going to work on how he's going to tie his shoes, and I, as a teacher, I'm going to help get you resources so that you can learn different ways and strategies to do that. So there's been everything from that to, my daughter doesn't know any of her sight words, and she's in 2nd grade and can't read at all. So here's what we're going to do together so that you, mom, dad, grandma, know what you can do at home so that your daughter does start learning her sight words and can come to school ready to learn and ready to engage with the material that's happening in the classroom. So we have those goals that are set together, and then finally there's a follow-up. It's not just the teacher's going to say, okay, go do this and take care of it, and I'll see you later. The teacher's going to follow up with the family afterwards at an agreed upon time, whether that's 30 days, whether it's 3 months, with another communication, another visit, and talk about the student's progress towards their goal.
For the full conversation about the HomeWorks program and to find thousands of video resources students can use at home or at school, go to our educational website, educate.today.
It's the podcast for parents, teachers, and anyone interested in the education system. Classroom Matters. Hosted by Educate.today's Christy Houle. Find Classroom Matters on Educate.today or wherever you get your podcasts.
We are in the new annex, which is next to the gallery in the district.
And the Gallery in the District is a beautiful contemporary art gallery with modern, fun art that's owned by Michael Steinberg. We had decided to open up this annex, which is just 2 doors down from the gallery, to be able to showcase other works of art, and specifically and originally the art of James Michael Smith. This is a memorial and a retrospective of his entire life's work. One of the really great things about this exhibit is when you visit it, you will be able to see the whole series of his work over time. So it's really, really neat to be able to see how an artist transitions and changes their style and moves from one element, whether it's sculpture to painting to carvings and back again.
James Michael Smith and I have been friends for over 30 years. I bought one of his original pieces of art when I first moved to St. Louis. James had this door collection, and I bought the blue door. It's the original piece I still have in my office. And for 30 years, I probably bought over 100, 150 pieces of his art. I really found him to be very fascinating, and the textures and what he did was different. And each year, he would reinvent himself. It took time to understand James. He was a very interesting, introspective, very quiet guy, but his art resonated with me, and he would always create things that were very different. Unfortunately, we talk about how this exhibit started, and it started because I found out 3 or 4 months ago, maybe 5, that James had esophageal cancer. And someone told me that, and I called and said, if there's anything I can do, I'll be happy to call someone at Siteman. I know some people down there. I've given them money for cancer research, and what can I do? And we stayed in touch, and he said, I'm doing pretty good. And then all of a sudden I got a call. James unexpectedly passed away. I was devastated. So of course I reached out and I said, what can we do to keep his memory alive and honor him and let people know what great work he did? And that's the basis for this gallery you see right here. This is something that we wanted to do to honor him for his great years of work. So that's what we're doing, and we're blessed to have the opportunity to really do this in honor of James Michael Smith.
One of the really great things about having this exhibit for James Michael Smith's work is that the sales of this are going to be used to fund a scholarship for an upcoming artist.
We don't get here by ourselves. I've had a lot of great mentors and people that have taken interest in me, and James was the same way. And James's goal was to take his art. Sure, he wanted to make some money, but he wanted to make sure that his legacy and his ideas lived on. And doing this and empowering and letting someone else become an artist might do the same thing. So his memory won't be for a year. It could be for 100 years, depending on how this goes.
You can learn more about this exhibit featuring the work of James Michael Smith and everything else that we have going on at the gallery by visiting our website at thegallerystl.com.
The original monster truck, Bigfoot, was created by St. Louisan Bob Chandler in 1975 when he modified a Ford F-250 pickup. In April of 1981, Chandler drove Bigfoot over some cars to test the truck's capabilities and became the first large truck to do so on record. The modifications and fame the truck garnered led the press to coin the term monster truck for the first time. Scan the QR code on your screen to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
St. Louis biotechnology company Arch Oncology is engaged in a cellular battle with a unique approach for killing cancer.
We work in the field of immuno-oncology, which is basically the ability to turn your own body's immune system back on to recognize cancer. And right now we're looking specifically at some solid tumors as well as multiple myeloma.
The immunotherapy developed and studied in Arch Oncology's lab is based on what's called a don't eat me signal, the key to a cell's survival.
We have good cells, and we have cells that kind of patrol our body to get rid of bad cells or viruses or bacteria, things that shouldn't be there. And so those cells are told not to eat the good cells by this don't eat me signal.
The problem is cancer cells also have that don't eat me signal.
Cancer cells have hijacked that system, and they make a lot of that, and so they don't get recognized by these immune cells to be targeted and basically destroyed.
So Arch Oncology developed a therapeutic to disrupt the signal and disarm the defense shield, leaving the cancer cells defenseless.
So if we can interrupt that signal, then our immune system can then act on those tumor cells. So we have an antibody called AO176 that we're developing for multiple cancers that blocks this don't eat me signal. So the protein that this antibody binds to is called CD47. It's the protein that appears on normal cells as well as cancer cells that when it binds to another protein on an immune cell, transmit this don't eat me signal. So we try and disrupt that interaction. So if we bind an antibody to CD47, then it prevents it from binding to the other protein on the immune cell to be able to transmit the don't eat me signal,
allowing the immune system to do its job.
It was discovered many years ago. There was a researcher at Washington University who had discovered it and worked on it and raised some antibodies against it. We've licensed those antibodies and have continued to develop them.
Arch Oncology has since grown with the support of BioGenerator, the investment arm of BioSTL. Arch Oncology continues to be part of BioGenerator Labs in the BioSTL building in St. Louis.
Within the facility that we have here, we're looking at the ways in which this antibody works, not only to disrupt the don't eat me signal, but how does that really take place in very controlled situations here in the lab.
For more information, go to our website, hecmedia.org.
You can find the stories featured in today's show along with past episodes and more at hecmedia.org/spotlight.
New Haven, Connecticut, is a short stretch of sidewalk between the Schubert Theater and the Taft Hotel. It is here that managers have what are called out-of-town openings, which are openings for New Yorkers who want to go out of town.
The list of cities where Broadway shows try out before opening on Broadway is pretty short, but in 2022, it will be getting a little longer.
This is one of the biggest pieces of entertainment news in the history of St. Louis theater.
Starting in January, the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center, the permanent home of Stages St. Louis, will become the starter home for the cast and crew of a new musical based on an old movie.
Wax on, hot. Wax off.
It was one of the most popular films of the 1980s and widely regarded as one of the best sports films of all time.
Danielson.
Now, at nearly age 40, The Karate Kid is new again. Same story, but this time the actors will be kicking up their heels dancing while singing to a Japanese-infused pop rock score. And for St. Louis, hosting the musical's pre-Broadway tryout is quite a score.
It has the possibility of being significant because we're hoping that it's not just the Karate Kid, that this becomes a tradition, that St. Louis truly becomes a destination for pre-Broadway musicals.
The Karate Kid the musical was written before the pandemic and recently workshopped in New York. But the final staging and polishing and audience testing is what will be happening in St. Louis. In January, they hope to cast many of the actors here. Come spring, they will also be building the costumes and sets here, culminating in a month-long run of public performances as part of Stages St. Louis's 2022 season, starting on May 25th. And it's all happening at the new, state-of-the-art Kirkwood Performing Arts Center.
When I walked in, I really felt that I found home. I totally, completely fell in love with it.
Kumiko Yoshi, the show's New York-based producer, through a mutual business acquaintance met Jack Lane, Stages St. Louis's executive producer, who for the past 10 years
The Prom
has also been producing shows on Broadway. But because of the pandemic shutdown on Broadway, the waiting list for available theaters in traditional tryout cities like Boston, Chicago, and Los Angeles is incredibly long.
I didn't want to wait. That's when I met Jack Lane, and we started to talk about it, and he told me about this beautiful, brand new Performing Arts Center in Kirkwood.
I read the script, listened to the score before I really went after it, and went, wow, they have found the stage voice of the Karate Kid.
To write the book for the musical, Kumiko Yoshi approached Robert Mark Kamen, who wrote the original Karate Kid screenplay, based loosely on his own experience as a bullied teenager who learned martial arts and life lessons from a real-life Mr. Miyagi. There was only one problem.
He really didn't think the Karate Kid should become a musical. I think he said dumbest idea.
She did her homework on me, and she didn't appeal to me saying, this is a great moment to retell the story. She said, do you know how much money the person who writes the book or owns the rights to a property makes on Broadway if it's a hit? And I said, you had me at gross receipts.
Today, however, Kamen is not just thinking about what he can make, but what they have made. While attending the New York workshop, Kamen became emotional.
I'm watching a whole fresh new take on my 40-year-old thing. And it's new, and it's fresh, and it's exciting, and it brought tears to my eyes.
Today, Kamen spends much of his time running a vineyard he owns in Sonoma, California, which, as it happens, is how Kamen became convinced St. Louis was the right place for the tryout.
I've been to St. Louis selling wine, and I ran it by my wine distributor, and they flipped out. They said, this is amazing, this is great. You know, nobody ever thinks of us this way. And I said, well, this is your lucky day, Bill.
I do believe if we can get this experience right, that Broadway will then go, oh, there is a new city in which to try out. And it will elevate St. Louis in so many ways.
I already got a couple of phone calls asking that I would tell them my experience here because a lot of people are already interested in coming here.
Broadway musicals are risky things. But considering the original movie has had 3 sequels and is now the basis for the popular Netflix series Cobra Kai, the producers are convinced this musical version will surely become a hit.
The excitement that we have felt since it was announced, particularly from our patrons and people that I don't even know, is palpable. They want to be a part of it. They want to support it. And I think there'll be a lot of love that would be exhibited for any production that tries out in St. Louis.
How did you do that?
Don't know.
This is major.
First time.
The pre-Broadway world premiere of The Karate Kid the Musical opens May 25th at the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center. Visit stagesstlouis.org for tickets and more info. Next week, the story of Jefferson Barracks, why it's regarded as the birthplace of the American cavalry. Plus, a critical battle happened right here in St. Louis that helped save the American West. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.